I'll be watching you. Sting and the Police, Every Breath You Take. Good morning. This is Dermot Fitzpatrick down here in Marlow in Buckinghamshire. And so it's Marlow FM 97.5 with you until 12 o'clock this morning. And I'm delighted to have in the studio right now my good friend, Dr. David Pearl. David, good morning.
Good morning, Dermot. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining me. Just you were you qualified as a medical doctor.
That's right.
1984.
Yeah, a long time ago.
And then you decided to change. You decided to do something different.
Yeah, I got bored with medicine. It didn't. I get bored sort of at the 7-year itch. Every 7 years, I need a change. So I went into medical repatriation, flying people, sick people back to the UK. Traveled to about 90 countries, and I love flying. It's one of my passions. And then I set a business up doing crisis management and trauma psychology. And my latest iteration, about a decade ago, trained as a psychotherapist, and now do relationship and marriage counselling, working with my wife, who's also a psychologist, psychotherapist.
Wow.
And so that's yeah.
I think that's previously we used to have a job from cradle to the grave, and you got to go watch, and that was the end of it. But you've obviously taken a different route and so a portfolio of different jobs that took your interest from medical profession right through to crisis and trauma management and now counselling.
Yeah, very much so. I've always felt that life is short, and if I'm not enjoying what I'm doing, why not move around and do something different? And I've been fortunate. I've always managed to make ends meet somehow with what I do. And I feel very blessed that I've had such a variety of life experiences.
Well, the theme we've chosen this morning, you and I, is about relationships.
Yeah.
And in all its form, I was saying earlier, when we think of a relationship, or when I think of relationship, I've often in the past thought about relationship with a significant other. But of course, there are many different kinds of relationships. And they're all it's all to do with me relating, how I'm relating to other people.
Absolutely, and I would say it's even deeper than that. It's how we relate to ourselves as well.
Okay.
Because how we relate to ourselves, I think, sort of predicates how we relate to other people.
So, how did you get interested in relationship? What was the starting point? Obviously, you've been in relationships yourself, but as an interest, and also moving to that as a profession, of an interest in being a counsellor in relationship with your wife.
Yeah, I've always been interested in how things work. I think that's one of the reasons I went to medical school. I used to take things apart as a youngster, could never put them back together again. So I have a natural curiosity. And when I started my psychotherapy training, we'd always struggled in relationship. I'd been in marriage counselling for quite a while, and we were working through our issues. And then this course I started, I met another woman that I'd spoken to for no more than 20 minutes over 2 evenings. And after 20 minutes, I was completely transfixed. I was infatuated to the point of this being an obsession and like an addiction to another person. And I was thinking to myself, from a head point of view, how can this be? I knew nothing about this woman, and yet here I was in La La Land.
So like a fixation?
Complete infatuation, fixation. It was literally like being addicted to a drug, but the drug was another person.
And was it mutual or just one-sided?
That I have no idea, and I think ultimately that didn't matter, because actually it was about me, my issues, and me looking at myself and my early life wounds and other things that were at play there. So nothing ever happened. It was all a fantasy in my head, but it caused a lot of turmoil, and for me it started a dark night of the soul is the term that we call this, where I went into some deep grieving for many losses in my life, and probably grieving for many losses from the generations before. My father was a Holocaust survivor, and he lost his entire family. That was never spoken about growing up. So it's all the intergenerational trauma that I think that we ingest as human beings, and that we unconsciously play out. And this is what happens in relationships. So much of what we do in relationship is unconscious. If you think of the unconscious, it's like an iceberg. 10% of our awareness, our consciousness, it's 10% roughly, but 90% is what we're not aware of. It's all the scripts from early life. It's the cultural stuff that gets put onto us, religious beliefs, family beliefs. There's so many things that we we're just not aware of. Some of it, as I said, very early in life where we have no memory, no actual memory of it, but there's some encoding in our brain within there that gets played out.
So if what what I'm hearing, what I heard you saying, or what I've heard from, and I'm making this up myself, is that so obviously the things that happened to me in my childhood, so I'm like a tape recorder or a video recorder. I'm taping and I'm taking in things as a child that actually belief systems, things that other people are saying, things that people say they like about me or dislike about me, and it's somehow forming. Already forming a relationship that I have with those people who are initially my caregivers, my caretakers, and somehow that does that impact then my life in later years? Yeah,
that's exactly it. You've hit the nail on the head. And the first few years of our life are where we get imprinted, and it's so important whether we have stability and enough unconditional love or good enough parenting. And I think the reality is few of us do. And this leads to what we call attachment theory. And this, I don't want to get too technical, but Bowlby was a British psychiatrist who came up with this attachment theory. And that's how we attach to usually our mother. And if we get a good connection with her and she's present emotionally there for us, we get securely attached. But if we don't get enough of that, we can become insecure, we can become anxious, and or sometimes we can have too much, we can get smothered, and often that creates an avoidant person who doesn't like to be...
so it keeps people at a distance because
absolutely.
They're afraid of being overwhelmed and smothered.
Yeah. And what the dynamic we often see in the work that we do is that an avoidant will pair up with an anxious person. And you get this dance where the anxious person needs lots of reassurance, and that smothers the avoidant person. They pull away, and as they pull away, the anxious person feels that pulling away, gets more anxious and needs more reassurance. And so you have this vicious circle that goes on, and this was going on in my own marriage. And it wasn't until 25 years of marriage that we realised this was the dance, the unconscious dance that we were playing out. And how this all came from my own early childhood. I was the anxious one and my wife was the avoidant, and how we played this dance out unconsciously.
I love that. And I love your honesty, because I think it is somebody like yourself who's in the profession of helping other people heal their relationships and build better relationships, that you are not immune to it yourselves, and your wife. You're actually bringing what you're learning into the practice.
Absolutely. You know what? We're all human. We all struggle. We're all perfectly imperfect. And we work through some very difficult issues in our marriage, especially after this infatuation. I told my wife, and we had some painful work to do in our own relationship. But we've healed and grown from that, and our relationship is now in a place that I could never have imagined. But it doesn't mean to say we still don't act out or get triggered. We still have our stuff that we have to work on.
Well, we've gone already quite deep already, and I'm going to just play a track. It's this one is by Carly Simon. You've selected this, You're So Vain. It's not related to particularly what we're doing, but there is this aspect of in this track. I'm thinking here's one observing another, somebody who's very vain and somehow has an inflated aspect of themselves that they acquired. Maybe they began in life not feeling good enough and said, okay, I'll make myself good enough. We have the image of celebrity at the moment, isn't it? So we have to have this perfect teeth and perfect tan and hairless body and all of that in order to do that. You've got to, that's a vanity, isn't it?
Absolutely, and that very narcissistic. That's the culture that we live in.
Yeah, that's true. You're So Vain by Carly Simon.
Son of a gun. You walked into the party like you were walking onto a yacht. Your hat strategically dipped below one eye. Your scarf, it was apricot. You had one eye in the mirror as you watched yourself covet, and all the girls dreamed that they'd be your partner, they'd be your partner. in my coffee, clouds in my coffee, and you're so vain. We probably think this song is about you. You're so vain. I'll bet you think this song is about you. Don't you? Don't you? When I hear you went up to Saratoga and your horse naturally won, then you flew your Learjet up to Nova Scotia to see the total eclipse of the sun. Well, you're where you should be all the time, and when you're not, you're with some underworld spy or the wife of a close friend, wife of a close friend, and you're so vain. You probably think this song is about you. You're so vain. I'll bet you think this song is about you. Don't you? Don't you? Don't you? You're so vain. You probably think this song is about you. You're so vain. You probably think this song is about you. You're so
Yeah, You're So Vain with Carly Simon. Of course, it doesn't relate to anybody in this studio at this
No, of course
moment in
not.
time, or anybody in Marlow. We're all nice people here. You're listening to Marlow FM 97.5. This is Dermot Fitzpatrick on Mid Morning Matters. Joined by my guest, Dr. David Pearl, who is, together with his wife, they run a counselling service for relationship counselling. And if you have any questions that you'd like to put to David this morning, then you can email us on studio@marlowfm.co.uk. That's studio@marlowfm.co.uk. And I will read out the email on the air and ask Dr. David to give his response. If you wanted to call us, it's 01628 488 975. 01628 488 975. If you call when there's a track that's playing, then we can answer that call and then put you live on air. And if you wanted to text us, the number is 07900 975 975. That's 07900 975 975. So, David, we were talking earlier about where it all begins. It begins in childhood. It begins with the nurture, whether we're nurtured and has an aspect, but even that we can be over-nurtured and become cotton-wooled and cosseted, and that will have some impact on us because we won't develop in the ways that we might strengthen areas where we might normally be strengthened in, or we could not get any nourishment at all, in which case that will have an impact on our later relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's also not forget that some of this, I think, is nature. It is hard. It is genetic. And if you talk to mums, they will say that their children, even at a very young age, they will recognise that they're very different babies. One might be calm and relaxed, and the other one might be quite anxious or agitated. And even the moment they come out, they will sense a difference. So I think some of this is, it's the nature-nurture thing. And now what we're talking about is epigenetics, where our genes can get triggered by the environment. So this whole area is getting very interesting.
And so just take us then through we've got the impact that we have with our immediate family, depending on what circumstances we come into the world. And then we go into the world, we go into school, and then there's the influences you were saying about the educational system, the teaching process, religion.
So many things that can impact
society.
us. Yeah, society. I mean, I was reading an article this morning on a forum that I run where a girl was talking about parents not being emotionally present but having a grandfather who was very influential in her life. So it may be that it's not our mother and father, but it could be an aunt or an uncle or a grandparent that gives us that sense of stability. Or if we're a young boy, knowing what a healthy masculine is. I think, you know, you and I do a lot of men's work, and we know that many of us grow up in an environment where we don't get that masculine templating, and the same for girls as well with the feminine side.
Big boys don't cry.
Yeah, all
and
that
don't
stuff.
don't bring that temper in here. Don't bring that anger in here. You can take that outside, put it somewhere else.
Absolutely, and that's an interesting point, because I would say virtually every couple that we sit with in our practice, the woman complains that the man is emotionally not connected to himself, doesn't express emotions, and I think women crave a man who can express himself from an emotional point of view, from their hearts. They're not all in their heads, and yet so few of us. I think it's changing with the youngsters now. They do seem to be more emotional, more connected, more touchy. They hug each other more. But our generation, I don't think that's the case.
Yeah. And sorry, I just have lost my train of thought there. So we move on into our teenage years, and we're bringing this, as we know, that this the shadow that Robert Bly, the famous poet Robert Bly, talked about, that those things that we don't like about ourselves and other people don't like about us, he described it as we put it into a black bag that we carry behind us. And you know, I can't dance, you can't sing, you're no good at this, you're no good at that, keep quiet, you're too loud, you're too put your anger, don't bring your anger in here. And so we put those things into that black bag, and he described it that by the time we're in our 20s, the bag is 1.5 miles long. And so we've got these things, this image, and I know myself, the masks, how I want to present myself, especially in relationship, how I want to present myself, but it's a mask. It's not really me, you know.
Yeah. It's the masks that we wear, and this goes back to, we mentioned being vain and narcissism. And I think for me, the best definition of narcissism is where somebody doesn't know who they really are deep inside. So they're projecting out all these different personas, these masks, these false images of themselves to try and get people to like them or to approve of them, to get some validation, because deep inside they don't have great self-esteem. And the work of a psychotherapist, I think, in part, is to help somebody get reconnected, because we were connected to that part when we were born. But to get reconnected to that part, that essence of within us, that within our hearts, our true self, the real person that we are meant to be.
I've thinking about what you've just said. I was listening to a speaker, sort of facilitator, Jan Day, and she talks about the first intimacy is with self. It's, I think most of my life I've been trying to get from someone else, trying to get love from someone else, to please and rescue, or whatever it was I was up to try and get something back for myself. And she talks about that the first intimacy is loving myself, liking myself first, rather than trying to convince someone else to like me. By being something. And then of course I can't keep the act up.
And how many of us actually do feel good about ourselves? I often ask clients, how much do you love yourself? And they look perplexed. And when you dig a bit deeper, often they say, well, no, I don't feel that great about myself, if they're completely honest. Because I think we're taught that's unhealthy, that's vain. But if we can't love ourselves, how can we love another? So I think what Jan says is so true, and we have to learn to be intimate with ourselves. And intimacy, I love, is into me see, you know. So being intimate, do we open ourselves up to ourselves and to others, to our nearest and dearest.
Time for another track. This time it's you've got to have faith.
Yeah.
Sure. It's a tenuous link, but it'll do for now.
Yeah.
'cause I gotta have faith. I gotta have faith, because I gotta have faith, I gotta have faith.
Well, that's George Michael with faith. It was a good link, because you've got to have faith. You've got to have faith in something. You've got to have faith in yourself, and you've got to have faith in the value of relating to other people. Otherwise, you just go inside the front door and lock the door and stay in.
Yeah, or become a monk up in the Tibetan hills and live in a cave on your own. But I think we are relational creatures. We're not meant to be solitary or isolated.
Well, I asked earlier if anybody had a question, and we have received an email. Thank you, Simon. So the question for Dr. Pearl is, what's the difference, Simon asked, between being in my autonomy and merging? So can you explain the two, so I get some understanding of that? What's the difference between autonomy and merging?
I think that this is a very good question. How do we not lose ourselves in relationship? How do we keep ourselves and who we are, and not get lost? And I think this is a really difficult thing to do. And I think the more work we do on ourselves, and one of the things we talk about in our couples work is that we can help the relationship, but unless people do some individual growth work themselves as well to get to know themselves better, it's very hard to make permanent long-term changes. And when we get a better sense of who we are, both as individuals in that relationship, it then gets easier to not get lost, to know what is it that I'm being triggered by. I noticed you had a book on the table there called Growing Yourself Back Up, and we might touch on that, but how we get triggered, how we regress. And when are we doing that? And when we are, it's often our stuff, our historical stuff that is getting triggered. And that we learn not to blame our partner, not to project all our unconscious feelings onto somebody else. But it's, as I said before, even my wife and myself, having done a lot of this work, we can still get triggered and go back to that place. So this is a challenge, and I think this is a challenge, a lifelong challenge for any couple.
Sorry, go ahead, please.
Well, just to not get lost and fused in that relationship.
And I think you were mentioning earlier about the work with men, and that it's a part of that work is about knowing boundaries, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where do I start and where do you finish? This merging.
Yes.
And if I'm trying to please you, then I've no idea. I'm leaning over. Somebody once said to me, if you lean over backwards to please me, when I'm looking for someone who stands up straight, I won't see you.
Yeah.
So it's leaning in. There's a time to lean in, but there's also a time for me to know where my own boundaries, my own physical boundaries, for my own personal well-being, what's right for me, and also what's right for the other. So I don't lose myself. Is that the merging? So I lose myself in the relationship, and I suddenly think, where am I anymore? Who am I anymore?
I would say it's more than just physical. It's emotional boundaries as well. And if we grew up in a family that was dysfunctional, we don't learn what are healthy boundaries. We don't learn when we're being invaded. Our space is being invaded.
Kids have on their door, don't they? They get to a certain point, no entry.
That's right. Yeah.
My room,
Yeah.
stay out.
Yeah.
And of course, if mum or dad just ignore that and walk in the bathroom or walk into the bedroom, there's an intrusion into their personal space,
Yeah.
and the young person doesn't learn that this is my territory, and you need to knock on the door before you come in here.
Yeah, they learn it's not safe, and that's when we shut down. We go inwards and we put up barriers because we didn't have respect growing up.
So the second question that Simon asked is, how can I create a healthy way of saying, I'm attracted to you, and I'd like to deepen my relationship with you? Healthy way.
Yeah. I think, again, that if you're in relationship or you're attracted to somebody that is reasonably self-aware, I use the word conscious, then we can be honest with our feelings. And I think it's just about talking more from a feeling point of view. This is how I feel. And we often say that there's no shame in whatever we feel, and there's nothing wrong in however we feel, whether it's love, hate, anger, rage. All our feelings are valid. It's what we do with those feelings that's the issue. So if we have a good sense of who we are, I think we can sit in our power, our strength as a human being, and we can say to another human being, assuming that we are available for relationship, that this is how I feel about you.
And you don't, and so I think what I've learned is that it's okay to ask, it's okay to express what I want.
Yeah.
It's okay to express my feelings.
Yeah.
But I ask for what I want. It doesn't necessarily mean that I need to expect that other person.
No.
Just it's okay for me to say this is what I want. So in this case, I'm attracted to you, and I'd like to deepen that, to get to know you better. And that may not be right for you, but I just want to say it.
Yeah.
Is that what?
Yeah. I remember reading a book a number of years ago called Radical Honesty, and it's based on that we talk and say how we feel, and this isn't about managing other people's feelings. It's about us being honest with how we feel. Now, as long as we're not coming from a place of brutality, and we are being sensitive to what we're saying, but without trying to rescue the other person, then I think that's a much healthier way. That's the way to be relational. Is to talk from a feeling point of view and to be honest.
So to summarize and answer Simon's question is express your feelings.
Yeah.
Express what it is that you want, knowing that the other person may not give you what you want, and that's okay too.
Yes, and that's fine. But also be aware that if the other person is very unaware, it could be that they use that information in some way to be manipulative. So there's always that risk. But if you are, as I said, if you're self-aware and your ego is strong, then you'd be okay to be able to see that for what it is.
Simon, thank you for your question. And if there's anybody else who has a question they'd like to ask Dr. David, then you can email us on studio@marlowfm.co.uk. or give us a call on 01628 488 975. Let's listen to Read All About It with Emily Sonday.
You've got the words to change a nation, but you're biting your tongue. You've spent a lifetime stuck in silence, afraid you'll say something wrong. If no one ever hears it, how we gonna learn your song? So come on, come on, come on, come on. You've got a heart as loud as lion, so why let your voice be tamed? Maybe we're a little different, there's no need to be ashamed. You've got the light to fight the shadow, so stop hiding it away. Come on,
Beautiful. Read all about it by Emily Sondé. Yeah, we'll come some words in that, David, that we both smile. Can you remember what the...
Right at the beginning, I think it's just about talking honestly, talking about how we feel.
Speaking about honestly, and how much. I mean, I'll own my own, take responsibility for my own judgment. But how often I avoid conflict. I avoid speaking my truth because I don't want to upset, or it's the wrong time, or keep it till this time, rather than actually coming out and saying, "And this is how I'm feeling." You don't need to do anything about it. You don't need to say anything. You don't need to change anything. But this is, I'm feeling angry right now, or I'm feeling sad right now.
Yeah.
And just being able to practice that.
And I think in relationship, that's so important, because then our partners know where we're at. Because, again, we hear often people expect their partner to be a mind reader. And we're not mind readers. So if we talk about how we're feeling, it lets the other person know where we're at. And often the other person feels they're having to walk on eggshells because their partner's angry or something else like that. And it may be that they're not angry, or it may be they're angry but not with their partner. It just helps clarify. And we know where we stand when there's that level of honesty in a relationship. And through that honesty is how we get intimate. But we have to be prepared to be vulnerable, to be that honest with people.
Yes, this book that you recommended, I've started reading, Growing Yourself Back Up, and I was reading it yesterday, and it has that, I love books where it gives a little scenario, and something has happened between this couple, and the man comes back into the room and says, "Is there something the matter?" And I said, "No." "Oh, I think there's something the matter." "What's the matter?" "You know."
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm just sensing that there's something is the matter. Tell me. You know quite well. And so I don't know. And this exchange goes on, and then the man gets frustrated and goes out and bangs the door, because he's, he wants to know, and his partner thinks he should know, or he does know. He's just not saying. Yeah. And this little game is a little game that we play.
Yeah, the games people play.
The games people play, Eric Byrne,
transactional analysis.
Transactional analysis, yeah. So, why do we get into a relationship in the first place, Doctor? Please.
Well, I think obviously there's biology. I mean, the drive for any species to recreate is so strong. But take that aside, and I think there's other reasons. And I was just looking at a paper yesterday, Scarlett Johansson, just after her second split, saying marriage isn't natural. It's too much work. And I think that actually, I'm always curious when people have gone through 2, 3 or 4 relationships, do they stop and think to themselves, what's going on here? There's a pattern, and I'm part of that pattern. I'm creating that pattern. And my belief is that a lot of what we go into a relationship for is to try and heal the wounds from our early life, what we were talking about before. These unconscious wounds that we are striving to somehow repair.
Give me an example of what a wound would like.
Well, a wound. I'll give you a personal example. One of my wounds is that I have a fear of rejection and abandonment. Given what happened to my father in Auschwitz, that makes sense that he lost his entire family. This was never talked about growing up. So it's almost within my DNA, a pervasive fear of being rejected and abandoned. And so, of course, I'm then attracted to a woman that's going to trigger that fear more than anything. I'm attracted to a woman. Why
is that? Why would you be attracted?
Because unconsciously, this is all unconscious.
You don't go out looking for...
No. This is the thing. It's so unconscious. But I know deep in my soul that for me to repair or heal that part of myself, I need somebody who's going to trigger that part. If I was in relationship with a woman that was constantly giving me reassurance and love and nurturing and mollycoddling me, first of all, I hated that, because I did have a few relationships and I couldn't stand to get away from them. But that's not going to force me to grow up. It's that book you just read, Growing Yourself Back Up. That partner would just be playing into that wound and not forcing me to look at it, explore it, become aware of it, make it conscious, so then I can go and do the work that I need to do to heal myself. So I'm attracted to a woman that can be quite distant, and when I get needy and insecure, she pulls away.
But that's not how it happens at the beginning, because you're not attracted to someone who's going to help you to heal your wounds, because you're not aware of it. So you're attracted to someone who's attractive.
Well, physical attraction is part of it, but I think that it goes way deeper. And we can't. It's like Wi-Fi. We can't see what's out there in the ether, and I think we all transmit and receive frequencies, energy, call it what you want, that we sense and we pick up on, and I think that's what we're drawn to. So yes, there has
So
to
that
be
comes later in the relationship.
I think that's part of the attraction. I somehow think it's all packaged up so that, yes, there's the physical attraction, and I often think, well, what is it? Why am I attracted to certain physical attributes as well? Where does that come from? But within that, because I could see two women that I find physically attractive, but one I'm drawn to far more than the other at an energy level, at a feeling level. And then if I talk to her and find out about her, there's probably some, what we call mirroring. She probably mirrors some of my wounds at some level. As one client once said to me, who was really struggling, he said, sick attracts sick. And that the more wounded we are, the more the wounded person is that we're going to be drawn to in that relationship.
And not knowing that that's what's happening, and that it's actually good for that this person is triggering me to bring up some aspects that is, in your words, that needs healing, or the wound that needs healing. It becomes painful, and I say, well, I don't want to continue that anymore. Let me look for someone else who's not going to do that.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens, and I'm sure. Well, I wonder with Scarlett Johansson how much work she's done to actually explore what is getting triggered in her unconscious. Because when we move into a new relationship, we take ourselves with us, and we take all our unconscious baggage with us as well, and we will play out the same pattern over and over again until one day we either take responsibility and look at ourselves and start, taking responsibility. Now,
So we might ask ourselves the question, somebody would say, why is this always happening to me?
Yeah.
And I say, very good question.
Yeah.
The common denominator in the relationship is me, and
That's right.
therefore there's something is happening. If it's been happening, if there's a similar pattern in my relationships, then something needs to change.
Yeah, very much so. But that doesn't mean to say every relationship can be fixed. I mean, there are some relationships where people should just never have got together. They got together for the wrong reasons. But I think in many cases relationships can be, if the people are prepared to do the work, the heavy lifting, that things can, even when there's been a rupture of trust, even when there's been infidelity, once a couple has worked through that trust, they can be much more connected than they ever were before. So sometimes it can be a shake-up that's what's needed.
I'm going to play this one just for us. It's The Foundation. The Foundation's Baby Now That I've Found You.
Perfect.
No
Baby, now that I've found you by the foundations. And David, the time has flown. We've got about 8 minutes left before we hand over to the Eclectic Light Show. Yeah.
Reminds me of when I was 16 at school, our music teacher saying, the older I get, the faster time goes. And I can't believe how 52 minutes has flown by.
Yeah, and we've just opened up the subject of relationship. We talked about how it begins in our early childhood, and the beliefs and habits and behaviours and patterns and coping strategies that we develop in that they, unless we change it, the program always follows. Yeah. The game always follows the program, and if the game isn't working the way we want it to work, we need to look at the program and find ways of changing.
Yeah,
that.
And you're talking about beginnings. With every beginning comes an ending, and to change the program, it does take work, and it may mean that we need to go into some grieving of losses that we never had in previous relationships early in life. For me, it was my past generations doing all the work that had never been grieved by others in the line, the lineage down the line. But the thing is, I think, to give people hope is that things can change. That we're not. You can teach an old dog new tricks. That it's hard. We can't change our core personality, but we certainly can learn about how to be relational. I mean, nobody teaches us how to be in relationship. And one of the points I wanted to put across was that there's no shame to go and reach out and seek some help. And I know for men, and this was myself, I didn't start doing this personal development journey till I was 40. And I felt too much shame, too much pride in going to actually go and see somebody to get some help. And I liken it to breaking a leg. We see a doctor.
Yes, so many other ways. We're quite happy to go and get some coaching, get some help and support. Yeah. And something that's the fundamental, most important aspect of our relationship with ourselves and the relationship with others. Yeah. And to be able to reach out and connect with people and reach out and ask for support and help from people like yourself and your wife. So what's your wife's name, by the way? Ruth, yeah. Well, David, it's been wonderful talking to you this morning. We could have spoken for perhaps another hour and I'd like to invite you back in again to continue on this conversation about relationships, if you would.
I'd love to. I'd love to bring my wife, but she's radio shy, so we're having a discussion at the moment.
Is she listening in?
I don't know. I have told her about it, but I'll play the recording back.
She's shy that she doesn't even want to listen. Never mind. But you tell her we're very friendly here on Marlow FM. It's a really friendly, intimate studio where we can it's like a conversation just between two people.
I will tell her that.
So I'd like to play this next track for Ruth and also for my partner Susie, and to thank you so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure, and also to thank you all for listening, for the emails that you've sent in, and I look forward to being back with you on Mid Morning Matters, the third Friday of March. Leaving you with 100,000 angels, and Susie, this one is for you.